Don't do this!
In the house.
What's it for?
She a refugee too?
We begin with a voiceover explaining that it's been 32 years since the Gate arrived in Earth's orbit, a wormhole to a new solar system that's capable of supporting life. Humans used probes to calculate that for every year on Earth, 18 years would pass on the other side of the Gate. With the planet on the verge of a new ice age, thousands of migrants set off to the other side of the Gate to find a new home, a planet they would eventually call Rhea. Ships would make the journey over the next 16 years, but most of humanity had yet to leave Earth. However, when the planet's condition got worse and supplies were exhausted, a mass migration would begin and go on for another 16 years, which equals 288 years on Rhea. Now in the present, refugees continue to leave humanity's original home, unaware of the hardships that await them on the other side of the Gate. As it turns out, Rheans no longer welcome Earthers and have set a blockade to prevent anyone from entering Rhea. One of those Earthers trying to enter is Bran Marshall, whose ship got destroyed by the Rheans. Luckily, he avoided the explosion using an escape pod, but the rest of the refugees unfortunately didn't make it. Now Bran's drifting in deep space inside a damaged escape pod with only his AI assistant, Edison. Bran thinks they have enough power to get back to the refugee station, but Edison informs him that the oxygen levels are too low and he won't make it. Instead, Edison proposes they dock with a nearby Rhean supply ship called the Nisa. The ship is damaged and running on auxiliary power. Edison believes he'll be able to get the ship back online. Bran is worried that he'll likely be given the death penalty if the crew is still alive, but he doesn't have a choice. To make it there in time, they're going to need to accelerate at a high speed of G7, which can give Bran a stroke. Edison instructs him to use half the fuel in the thrusters to fire them toward the Nisa, and fire the remaining fuel and thrusters in the opposite direction to slow them down. They might explode if they don't. To prevent the stroke, Bran will need to use an anti-G pen, which he injects right into his heart momentarily. Edison counts down, and Bran fires them forward. Following Edison's instructions, Bran is able to dock with the ship safely. He blacks out afterward, and as the screen fades, we are taken to Earth 8 years into the past. Bran is seen burying his wife with his daughter Riley and father-in-law Henry. He plants poppy seeds, knowing they won't grow due to the extreme cold, but they are her favorite. He remembers how things spiraled after that. Farms failed, people starved. Henry gives a desperate neighbor some equipment. Hearing about her food problems, Henry feels bad and gives her a box of canned food. After she leaves, Bran tells him he made a mistake, letting that woman know about their supplies. He suggests they leave their place before she tells someone about it and puts their lives in danger. However, Henry refuses to leave his home. Riley wonders what it's like to live on Rhea, and her father simply answers warm. Back in the present, Bran, wearing a spacesuit, boards the Nisa. The gravity drive is still working, and oxygen levels are good too. Bran wants to get to the medbay, but Edison can't help navigate, so he has to look for it himself. The ship is dead quiet and creepy, and it doesn't take long to find out why. Bodies of crew members lie everywhere. After confirming they're all dead, Bran deduces it might be the work of one of the crew members, though he can't understand what reason they would have to do so. Bran continues his search and finds a wall of crew member photos. Reflecting on the photos, Bran shares that some Rheans believe that after nearly 600 years of living in less than Earth's gravity, they don't consider themselves as humans anymore. They think they're better than Earthers. Edison says they all look the same to him. After some more looking around, Bran finds a room with supplies. Then he notices a strange case, but before he can do anything, he's held at gunpoint by a surviving crew member named Osha. We learn here that Rheans have invented their own language, as Bran is surprised when she speaks Earther. She's furious and believes he's the one who killed her crew. Bran tries to explain that he just got here, but she's not buying it. Rhea sends supplies to Earthers, and this is how they repay them. Bran asks her what's wrong with her ship, which confuses Osha because she thinks he damaged it. Exhausted and over the accusations, he tells the woman to just shoot him if she really thinks he's guilty. While she's distracted with her conflicting thoughts, he shoves her and makes a run for it. But it doesn't take long for her to find him, as she knows the ship way better than he does. She cuts him off fast, ambushes him in another corridor, and knocks him to the ground. Bran fights back, barely escapes, and locks himself in the medbay just in time, catching his breath. He grabs some meds and notices a man in a med pod. Bran proceeds to dig through the ship's records, hoping to figure out who this woman is and what happened to the crew and ship. But the more he reads, the less it makes sense. Edison instructs him to get to the bridge so he can be uploaded to the ship's mainframe and find out what's wrong with the ship. And of course, right on cue, Osha breaks into the medbay. Bran hides, waits for a shot, and knocks her out cold. Edison says they could have tried talking to her. She doesn't stay down for long. She wakes up shortly after they leave, curses in Rian, and activates the ship's fire suppression system, draining the oxygen from the ship. Bran scrambles to an oxygen pipe, gasping just to stay conscious. Then she's back wearing a mask. She calmly walks toward him. They fight again. Bran's weak from the lack of oxygen, but just barely manages to overpower her until Edison restores the oxygen, after which he knocks her out again. Finally, with her unconscious on the floor, Bran gets a second to breathe. Bran heads to the bridge and uploads Edison to the ship's mainframe. When Bran asks him if he feels like he'll be breaking into another AI's house, Edison informs him that Rians don't use AI systems as a general rule. They believe that's how their ancestors ruined the Earth, so they use manual technology where it's possible. In all these years, the best they've managed to accomplish is the Rian language and a few medical advancements. After Edison starts uploading, Osha shows up, pounding on the door. Meanwhile, Bran makes fun of her. She sees him tinkering with the ship's controls and warns him not to press a certain button, but Bran is not going to listen to her. If he presses it, the whole system comes back on again in the ship, at least that's what he thinks. At that moment, he starts to let out his frustrations about Rians. He tells her that Rhea was supposed to be for everyone, but they keep Earthers on the other side of the blockade like cattle. They threaten to take out their air and their food away unless they behave nicely, and Rians shoot down their ships if they come anywhere near the planet. Bran's had enough, so without a second thought he presses the button and the ship powers up. Shortly after alarms start blaring, Osha runs away and breaks down in a corridor. Bran's excited and calls out to Edison to look at what he's done. However, Edison informs him that he made a mistake pressing that button. The ship thrusts forward at high speed and knocks Bran to the floor. Back in time on Earth again, we see Bran trying to dig something out. It's a box which contains Bran's life savings from his coding job, among other things. He stashed it in the field because it's too dangerous to leave it in the house. He gives Riley the money so she can use it to go through the gate to Rhea. He tells her his place is down here with her mother, but Riley refuses to go. Suddenly the alarm blares and Bran tells his daughter to go hide. He then takes out his gun from the box and gets ready. In the present, Bran wakes up to Edison berating him. He should have waited for Edison to finish uploading. Now to the bad news, Edison asks him to sit down. The ship had been shut down for a reason. Edison says that someone has corrupted the nav core and their ability to steer the ship is totally gone. And because Bran powered up the ship, the thrusters are firing on full and can't be deactivated. Soon they'll head into a slingshot around a nearby planetoid's orbit, and at their current speed, the Nisa would be accelerated to well over G-lock. This will probably kill them, but even if they make it, it won't be for long, because if they don't slow down by that point, then the ship will be on a collision course with the refugee station. They'll smash right through it and explode, causing everyone to die. Bran knows he can't fix this alone and contemplates working with Osha. But the second he opens the door, she attacks again. He fights her off, shoves her into a chair, and tells her to stop. He accuses her for trying to make genocide look like a ship malfunction, but she turns the blame toward him, believing he's the mastermind, planning to make Rians look like the bad guys. It's clear neither of them is to blame. She keeps insulting him in Rian, but Bran tells her they'll only speak Earther from now on. So he asks her what she knows. She explains she and her crew were on their way to the Earther station with supplies. The captain noticed the strange case during inspection and asked a crew member, Decker, about it, but he doesn't know. Then, a report came in that there's an Earther attempt to run past the blockade, but their superiors instructed them to wait. Hours pass and nothing, so Osha goes to sleep. She soon wakes up to the sound of gunfire. She finds the captain bleeding out among dead crew members. He says something in Rian before succumbing to his wounds. She then heads to the bridge to restart the ship, but realizes something's wrong, so she waits until she's figured out how to fix it. Except that Bran barged in and messed up the whole thing. Bran then remembers the man that's in the med pod, Decker. He asks her how he got in there, but she doesn't have a definite answer, so Bran deduces Decker is the imposter. After reaching an agreement, they finally introduce themselves to each other. Bran spots a criminal bracelet on her wrist. Osha shrugs it off, casually admitting she's killed Earthlings before, which sparks yet another shouting match. Until Edison cuts in. They have more immediate problems, so if they want to live, they're going to have to work together. Meanwhile, the light on the med pod turns green. Edison informs them that they're flying straight into a debris field. Normally, that wouldn't be a problem, except they're going too fast and can't turn to avoid the larger pieces of junk floating out there. Furiously, Bran points out that the debris field is not junk, but Earther ships that were shot down by Rians. This time, Osha chooses not to say anything. The ship is equipped with 2 manual thrusters meant for fine adjustments and tricky dockings. They have just enough fuel to get them through the field in one piece, only that the 2 of them have to operate the thrusters in unison. Bran hopes that they can at least avoid killing the people in the refugee station if they were to fail managing the thrusters and crash into one of the large debris. Much to his dismay, only they would die and the Nisa would carry on. Osha heads for the engine room to kill the power, even with a giant breach in the hull. Bran stays back, waiting to pull a lever at the exact right moment. Just as Osha gets to work on the engines, Decker regains consciousness and walks out of the med pod. Osha disconnects the first engine, but Bran warns her the breach is massive and there's a wall of debris up ahead. Still, they push on. But halfway through the second engine, disaster hits. Osha's oxygen runs out, but she manages to finish the job in the engine room. Meanwhile, Decker heads to the room where the strange case is, takes out some kind of remote control, and leaves. Bran gives Osha CPR to revive her, but they're far from being done. Shortly after, Edison explains that they'll need to simultaneously take control of the engines and operate in sync. The pair grabs the joysticks. The ship changes course, but they are severely shaken. They complete another maneuver and collapse under the G-forces. They have to get up again though. It's not over yet. After the third turn, Bran nearly loses consciousness. Osha snaps his dislocated arm back into place, and he passes out from the pain. He's back in the past when their neighbors arrive at his father-in-law's house to take their supplies. Seems Bran was right. The desperate woman told her brother of what they've got. Henry demands they leave peacefully, but he's already made up his mind. His family is starving, and his parents have died. To make them more cooperative, the neighbor orders his guy to find Riley. The guy opens the container where she's hiding. Bran and Henry open fire, killing the men. Riley darts out only to see that the woman is armed too and shoots in her direction. A wounded Bran kills the woman. Back in the present, Osha notices a photo of Riley, and Bran admits he lost his daughter. Unexpectedly, Osha says she also lost her family. The Rian government did not appreciate their attempts to help Earthers. She doesn't understand the politics, but many Rians don't share the belief that Earthers are bad and should be kept from coming through the gate. She asks him why he wants to go to Rhea, and Bran says he doesn't. He wants to live in his world, but he made a promise to his daughter that he would make a life on Rhea. Edison reminds him that in order to survive, they still need to stop the ship from reaching the station. Now Bran must enter the navigation core and pull out the infected motherboards. Edison will have to go into sleep mode while Bran's in there to stop himself from getting damaged. Since Bran won't have assistance, Edison briefs him on what to specifically do. The problem is, it's minus 40 degrees there. Bran puts on his suit, and Osha laughs at the sight of it, recalling Rhea, where it's always warm. But then again, Earth used to be warm too. He tells her to open the door as soon as he's done. Bran steps out into the bitter cold and begins looking for the infected motherboards. Meanwhile, Decker smashes the switch to the airlock. Osha hears this and goes into the corridor. She's shocked by his actions, especially since he's also from the group of migrants. Decker confesses he was given no choice. The Rian government took his kids and threatened to put them back on the station. He tells her she has no idea what it's like living on that station, and he won't let his kids go back to that again. It's a neat solution to get rid of the migration problem: have an Earther prisoner kill his own people. But first, he has to kill Osha. While this is happening, Bran finishes his work and asks Osha to let him out. But Osha is busy fighting for her life. Decker mentions how she hates Earthers and thought she'd be happy. But that's not the case anymore. Freezing Bran calls out to Edison, but gets no answer as he's still in sleep mode. He tries to escape through an air duct, but to squeeze through, he must remove his gear. With his last bit of strength, he manages to get out and collapses into the corridor, where Osha knocks Decker out and rushes to help Bran, placing him in a med pod. Edison reports that they succeeded. Once they reboot the system, the ship's controls will be restored. Sometime later, Bran regains consciousness and exits the pod. Osha tells him everything she's learned from Decker, and Edison shows them security footage of Decker admitting the Rian government's evil plan. Bran asks what would happen if Rians found out their government tried to wipe out refugees. Osha confidently answers that there would be a change, so Bran says they need to get this video out to everyone in the system, but first they must finish the job. Bran is told to rest for a little while as he might have frostbite. Meanwhile, Decker gets up again. Edison warns them about a major G-force overload coming, and Bran heads to the cargo bay to get the medication. The ship's firewall is preventing them from rebooting various systems. They have to disable it if they're going to get the ship up and running again. So, to disable the firewall, Osha has to manually disconnect one of the wires on the console. However, Edison doesn't know which one, so she'll have to try each one until she finds the right wire. While Osha does that, Bran finds not only the anti-G pens, but also discovers the case from earlier contains a nuke. He runs to the bridge, but Decker hits him over the head. Osha is left with 2 wires, one of which belongs to the life support system, which takes 3 minutes to reboot. This means she'll have to stop breathing during that time. She hesitates, but luck is on her side and she pulls out the right wire. Meanwhile, Decker apologizes to Bran, but insists he'll do anything to save his family. Suddenly, the G-forces increase again. Bran is thrown back, and to the day he's holding the mortally wounded Riley. The girl, in her final moments, tells him she made him something. She didn't want him to have to make decisions on his own. He asks what it's for, and she answers it's to help him build a better world, like her mom wanted them to do. Riley dies after that. In the present, Edison gives Osha final instructions and asks her not to die. Bran has grown quite fond of her. Meanwhile, Bran is barely hanging on due to the high speed of the ship. He asks Edison what's going on, and he advises him to strap in somewhere as they're approaching G3. Bran tells him to watch over Osha while he takes care of Decker. Edison urges Osha to stay awake. Bran eventually finds Decker strapped in and locks himself as well. The two begin fighting, though uncomfortably. Bran ultimately defeats him and unstraps Decker, causing him to be thrown back. Not long after, debris from the ship pierces through Decker. With the last of his strength, Bran reaches the bridge in time to inject Osha with the anti-G pen. Reaching G-lock knocks Bran out again. We are taken back to Earth one last time. Bran's burying Riley next to her mother. His father-in-law, Henry, gives him the money. He still seems adamant to stay here with them, but Henry reminds him of his promise. He tells him if he leaves, there may be a world up there where he can make a difference. And when he does that, he adds significance and meaning to the lives of all who made him the man he is now. And lastly, Henry hands him a picture of Riley and says to let her have some say in his choice. Afterward, Bran takes out his daughter's gift and turns it on for the first time. There's a video message of Riley explaining how she found one of those Edison personal assistants and that she's been recoding it, trying to give it a bit more personality. It's got the best of both her and her mother, so if he's ever alone or feeling lost, he'll have a friend that cares for him as much as they did. As Bran breaks down in tears, Edison activates and introduces himself. Edison asks where they shall start, and Bran answers, "Let's build a better world." In the present, Osha and Bran gain consciousness, and Edison explains that resetting the ship is the only way to return full control and slow them down, and a full reset wipes the ship's mainframe back to its original settings. meaning Edison will be deleted. Bran can't accept this. Edison recites a line Bran's late wife used to say, "Nothing ever changes without a bit of sacrifice. There's no other way. This is how they build a better world." Edison has already prepared the video link of Decker's confession for him and sent it to the transmission console. It'll be safe from the reset. As soon as the ship reboots, it will load automatically, and all Bran has to do is hit send. Edison asks Osha to look after Bran. Bran says his goodbyes to Edison and reboots the system. The ship alters course and steers away from the station. Bran contacts a man from the station and tells him to prepare for an incoming transmission. It'll explain everything. Right before his death, Decker detonates the bomb using the remote control, which is immediately reported on the bridge. Bran informs Osha of the bomb and how Decker was planning to detonate it on impact to make sure there were no survivors. Osha aims the ship at the gate, while Bran takes the bomb to the airlock, but when she thinks everything is going according to plan, he reveals that the airlock was damaged as Decker smashed the switch earlier, so he'll have to uncouple the pod from the inside and take it away with him. He asks her to look to her right, where there's the photo of Riley, and asks her to put it somewhere warm on Rhea, and so he uncouples and Osha accelerates like he told her to. Soon, she sees a massive explosion in the distance. She mourns Bran when suddenly she hears a knocking on the viewport. It's Bran, alive and well. As it turns out, he wore a protective spacesuit and likely escaped right before the explosion. Bran returns to the ship, and together, they gaze at an Earth that's completely frozen. It's going to take months to get the Nisa to fly again. They'd better get to work because time on Rhea is ticking. 9 months later, the ship's finally ready to fly. 15 years have passed on Rhea, and now the two of them can finally go back. As they approach, they receive a call from Rhea, the Rhean Earth Coalition. They're asked to identify themselves. As soon as Osha mentions the ship's name Nisa, the woman on the radio is overjoyed to hear from them. They know who they are and what they did. Immediately, she sends them landing coordinates, so they did it together. And with that, the movie ends. We hope you enjoyed our recap. Like the video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing recaps. See you in the next one.